Since mid-autumn, the sounds of whistles and noisemakers have been commonplace in the streets of Quebec. Province-wide public sector strikes have seen around 500,000 workers band together in pursuit of better working conditions. Schools have been closed since late November and surgeries have been delayed, but potential deals are finally taking shape for both the teachers' union and a group of unions known as the Common Front. There's still work to be done, though, as the FIQ, a nurses union made up of some 80,000 workers, remains without a deal. For more on the ongoing labor disputes in Quebec, we are joined by Barry Eidlin, who is the Associate Professor of Sociology at McGill University. Thank you so much for being with us.
Great to be here, Shallima. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start off first things first. In your view, how effective have the strikes been at actually being able to secure better working conditions for the workers?
Well, the proof will be in the pudding. We don't know what's in the actual agreements, but it seems from what we know so far that this has been quite a success. The workers were able to hold strong for the teachers for over a month on the picket lines with no strike pay. The Common Front unions, engaged in some of the largest work stoppages, not just in Canadian, but North American history over the past month. And they have seemed to catch the government off guard. And, like I said, we don't know what's in the agreements yet, but it seems like the government has been able to back down, because I wouldn't think that the negotiating committee for the unions would agree to any kind of tentative agreement that didn't satisfy the concerns that drove them to spend all that time on the picket line.
Now, Barry, I want to talk about for a second the optics here, because really the public sector workers tread a very fine line. They're trying to keep public opinion on their side while at the same time being able to get what they're looking for. What's your sense of where Quebecers stand on the strikes?
Well, the polling data show that there was overwhelming support for the strikers. And I think that that's for two reasons. Number one, it's because the issues that the Quebec public sector workers were facing are issues that many Quebecers and Canadians face, whether it's stagnating wages, whether it's forced overtime, whether it's, not enough time, whether it's burnout, staffing shortages. These are things that are affecting a wide swath of Canadians. And so when they see other workers fighting back, I think that that resonates. The other part of it is that I think that many Quebecers saw that there was a direct line between quality public sector services and quality public sector jobs. And so they understand, they see when they drop their kids off at school, when they take their family members to the emergency room, they see the effects that the sort of erosion of quality public sector jobs has had. And so they understand why it's important for these workers to fight back now.
Well, these strikes are some of the largest in Canadian history, but in 2023, we also saw the grocery store workers on strike. Automotive workers, both in Canada and the United States, walk off the job and onto picket lines. What is fueling the kind of job action that we've been seeing?
Yes, this is a much wider trend that we've seen, and I see it as the confluence of four different factors. Number one, there's this 40-year long-term trend of the erosion of work that I was referring to earlier, with eroding job quality, stagnating wages, soaring inequality, and that I think was compounded and really brought to new light by the pandemic. It's not that the pandemic created these issues, but I think that it really put it in stark relief in a way that it hadn't before. And you had this sort of contradiction of workers being hailed as essential workers while not being treated as essential, being treated more disposable. And so that was the second factor. The third factor is that coming out of the pandemic, we've had a tightening labor market, and that has given workers a bit more leverage in terms of, because they're harder to replace. And then the fourth factor is more of a demonstration, or you might even call it a contagion effect, whereby when workers see other workers going out on strike, it becomes more a part of their repertoire of action, like what they can think of as possible for them to do. They're fighting back. Maybe I should do that too.
Well, certainly something we're going to continue to keep a very close eye on in 2024. Thank you very much for your time. We've been speaking to Barry Eidlin, Associate Professor of Sociology at McGill University.